Hello and welcome to the Rewind, where we dive into the making and legacy of various films from cult classics to award-winning masterpieces. Today's movie is Cobra, the 1986 crime thriller that stars Sylvester Stallone as Lieutenant Marion Cobra Cobretti, a cop for the Los Angeles Police Department who must protect the only surviving witness from a strange murderous cult with far-reaching plans. This was released when Stallone was at the top of the heap in Hollywood. Rocky 4 just came out, Rambo 2, and this is a movie that really kind of brought about, I think, the last kind of like big Stallone film from the 80s, because after this was like a series of duds that will lead to a bit of a resurrection in the mid 90s. It didn't come out to the best notices. However, since then, the film has become a cult classic. Well, a lot of us love, even myself. I got this cool Cobra shirt right now. You can get over at the merch store because I'm a fan of everything Cobra. And joining me today to talk Cobra is Paul Shirey. He's an entertainment journalist, accomplished artist, and former editor-in-chief of Joe Blow. You can now check out Paul's work at the Substack, The Way of the Shirey, that features Paul's autobiography, Confessions of a Movie Blogger, and also check out the Mid Men podcast. I highly recommend everyone to check out both of those. Listen to the Mid Men podcast. It's quickly become one of my favorite podcasts because I am a mid-man myself, and so there's a lot of cool things there. But there's other things there for everyone, any age graphic or whatever, to check out. A lot of great life lessons there to be learned. Today we're going to learn the life lessons, though, of all things Marion Cobretti. And Paul, I'm so glad that you can join me in doing so.
Yeah. I'm always happy to talk some Stallone and definitely some Cobra too. So I'm down with it.
So Cobra is a really interesting film. So like I said in my intro, Stallone was the man when this came out. Like
Oh yeah.
figuratively, like he was the top of the Hollywood ladder. Schwarzenegger hadn't made his mark yet. Top Gun was just about to come out, so this is all Stallone right now. Rocky 4 was his highest grossing movie. Rambo 2, huge success. He's got two franchises behind him.
Oh yeah.
And then we got Cobra. I don't know what was like for you, but for me growing up, any Stallone movie that was coming out was a thing. I mean, Stallone was
Yeah.
like, I know Stallone was important to me because it's the only movie star that my dad actually liked. And you're going to say my dad came from former Yugoslavia to here in Australia in 1969. Old school guy, never really went to the movies. It was all just work and church and hanging out with the Croatian community. But Stallone he liked because he loved Rocky and he loved Rambo. And so to me, I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
this is the seal of approval, right? And so when Cobra, Cobra movies like Cobra and Tango and Cash and stuff, that was in our house all the time. Rocky on repeat, Rambo on repeat, and to this day, anything whenever Stallone comes out, anything, I have a high interest in it. And to my chagrin, I watch some of these things, even if they're not so good, because I just like to give the guy a chance. What
Of
about yourself,
course.
Paul? What's Stallone for you growing up as a film fan?
Very similar to you in that way. Like, I mean, when we were growing up in that era, so in 86, 87, I was about 9, 10 years old. Stallone was the MCU. Like,
Yeah,
the guys like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Willis, the action stars of that era, that was the MCU. These were the guys that, we turned to as our heroes. These were our myth makers, these were the guys that we wanted to be and the guys that we wanted to see. And, Stallone and Schwarzenegger, those guys kind of coincided very closely to me. So like I was a huge fan, mostly similar to you. Like my father was very much into it. So like we kind of got into it. So, with Conan the Barbarian, that was a huge hit for us. And then from there, Terminator. Terminator was also a huge one in rotation. But as you said, Schwarzenegger wasn't quite at that same level as Stallone at that point. Stallone was ahead of the game, already, knocking out quite a few hits. And with Rocky, again, he was already up to Rocky 4
yeah.
and Rambo 2. So, but these were movies that I grew up with, and they were just always in like our hemisphere, right? We were always just so excited for whatever Stallone had coming out. I remember going to the corner store when I was a kid when Rambo First Blood Part 2 came out. And like I remember seeing like they had the toys for Rambo First Blood Part 2, but it was like the weapons. It was like a miniature RPG launcher and a miniature plastic knife and everything. And we were just like, oh, we gotta have it. Like that's so cool, Like begged my mom to buy it for me. And I remember when Cobra initially came out, I didn't see it in theaters because a lot of times for those, like my parents were kind of old school and like, oh, you can't see R-rated movies yet, like you're too little. Meanwhile, like any chance that we got to see one, we absolutely watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when Cobra came out, and I remember thinking it was like it was kind of the first time I saw what I thought at the time was like this gritty action movie. When you watch Cobra now, it's I find it more cheesy than gritty. Like the stuff that I thought was gritty is actually kind of cheesy now. But like as a kid, I was like, whoa, this is deep, dark stuff. Like the shootout at the beginning in the grocery store, like felt dark to me. And then like the serial killer aspect and all of that stuff. It goes a little Silence of the Lambs at some points. And I just remember just being affected by that in a way that I just thought it was like this. It still had the allure of a Stallone action movie, but I liked that they tried to do something a little different and make it darker, grittier, or attempt to make it that way. And it worked for me in that way. And I liked it because it kind of diversified Stallone's like action genre. Because he wasn't going to not make action movies until he stopped and started, tried his hand at comedy, which just didn't work out. But it was nice that he changed it up. So like I loved Rambo First Blood Part 2. I love First Blood. I love the Rocky movies. Cobra sits on its own. Cobra is not like those movies. It's not like Tango and Cash. It's very set apart. I would say the closest, at least in that era, I think Lockup is probably the closest in terms of like a darker, kind of grittier Stallone movie. But that's also very different than Cobra. So yeah, for me, it was like, man, this is just, it's cool. Like Stallone was the embodiment of cool. And it was a nice departure for him, not playing kind of like the dim-witted boxer, and not playing like the bloodthirsty, Rambo. That's just kind of like once he's set loose, he's just a killer. Marianne Cobretti was a different character, and he was kind of funny, and he was a little bit aloof in some ways, but also just like the usual badass. But he just wasn't like the other characters, and I think it gets undersold in that way a lot. It gets overlooked in that, like, a lot of times people say, "Oh, Stallone is just Stallone," but Stallone is a smart, smart guy. Like he is very smart. You don't become that successful by luck, and he knows what he's doing. And I think he knew what he was doing then, even if it was a risk and it was a challenge and it was a change, and he knew that. He still attempted it, and it worked to varying degrees. But I just think Cobra's awesome. It's just a fun, cool, gritty-ish, cheesy action flick, and it's set apart from the other ones that he did.
I'm many of the same things. From my opinion, is very similar to yours in that regard, in regards to the whole. It's just felt something different. I mean, Rocky was accessible, really accessible
Yes.
kind of character. Rambo, even though more violent than Rocky and such, it was like almost like watching like G.I. Joe or something. It's like a superhero kind of
Sure.
movie, especially the second
Very
one, especially.
simple.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very
very,
simple. Like Rambo's a simple character, in that
very much
way.
so.
Like,
Yeah, and so when Cobra comes along, and I watched this film, I must have been 10 or 11 years old when I first watched it. Video, of course, back
yeah,
in the
yeah,
days
yeah,
with video
same.
stores and all that.
Yep.
Um, you could just tell just by watching it and seeing that opening scene and the people with the axes, the clinging of the axes and such. I was
Yep.
like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
this is something different. Um, and what I also found about it as well is that it seemed to me that if I was kind of thinking when I was watching it, it's like, oh, you have Rocky, you have Rambo, you have Cobra, and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be the first of many. That's what it kind of felt like to me
Yeah,
because that's
yeah,
what
right.
that's what Stallone was. He was like the sequels guy, the franchise guy. Not many
Oh
people
yeah,
were
very
at that
much
time.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like you said, he was very smart in knowing like he always had a really good feel of how to cater his films to the market, which
Yep.
is why he became such a success. I think after Rocky especially, he tried his hand to do like other dramas. Like I think he played I forgot who it was. He played like a union leader in a movie called Fist. It was directed by Norman Jewison. No
Yeah.
one watched that.
Hmm.
He did
Yeah.
Paradise Alley. No one watched that. Like all that. And then he's like, well, people want Rocky. I'm going to give him Rocky. and
Yeah,
same with
yeah,
First Blood as well. And so I always felt like to me that this was like going to be the first of many. It didn't turn out to be that way. Because again, you said he had a bit of a shift there to like doing stuff like Oscar and
yeah.
things like that as well. But what's really interesting about this film is that the history of it, I think it gets kind of tangled up in the whole kind of thing where people think that it was supposed to be Beverly Hills Cop and kind of is, but isn't at the same time. So I need to go through just a brief history of just Beverly Hills Cop here, just for a moment, so we can just set up how it gets to Stallone. Okay, so when I read what I read was that the idea for Beverly Hills Cop actually first came up in 1977. It was Michael Eisner who actually came up with it. So Michael Eisner used to be the CEO of Disney much later, but this is when he was working at Paramount Pictures, and his boss at the time gave him a 1976 Mercedes convertible. And the first day that he drove the car around, he was given a ticket by for speeding. And he was thinking to himself, how funny would it be that he's to be a cop in Beverly Hills dealing with the rich and famous? Like, imagine he's putting his shoes of a cop and he's giving his, ticket to this
Yeah,
exec,
yeah.
film exec. And that's where he kind of got the idea. And then he brings it to Don Simpson, the infamous Don
Oh
Simpson, the
yeah.
movie producer of the 80s, and just so many stories about him. They bring a screenwriter to work on it. His name was Danilo Bark. He couldn't get right, could right get it at the moment. They left it behind, and then in '81, the Bark comes back to Simpson, who's with Paramount, and he said, "I'm thinking about the film should be called Beverly Drive." That's what it was originally called, Beverly
Mm,
Drive, and it was about a cop from Pittsburgh named Ellie Axel, who comes to Beverly Hills to investigate the death of a friend. And so that's how the ball kind of starts rolling with the whole Axel thing and everything else. Yeah. And then later on, after 1983, where Bruckheimer and Simpson did Flashdance, so looking for a new project. So they go back to the Beverly Hills Cop idea. And then they brought in this other guy named Daniel Petrie Jr. Now, he's the one that did the whole kind of fish out of water concept, made it funny. They changed the name now to Axel Ellie. He's now from Detroit. And then the first actor they go to wasn't Stallone, it was actually Mickey Rourke they went to at the time to go
how
on to
about
this
that?
film. And they signed him to a $400,000 holding contract. But then Rourke wanted to make some changes to the script. Originally, the contract runs out and they move on. Now it's Stallone. They go to him. And this is where kind of like I find it really interesting in that Stallone has this thing that he does with projects. He rarely gives up control on a
Oh
project.
yeah.
If he's going to take on something, he's going to Stallonify it, which is
He's
essentially
all in.
what all in what he did here. There's a great quote that he had in there was a series of interviews he did with Ain't It Cool News back in 2006 when he was promoting Rocky Balboa. So he actually said that when he read the script for Beverly Hills Cop, this is his quote: "I thought they sent it to the wrong house. Somehow me trying to comically terrorize Beverly Hills is not the stuff that great yuck festivals are made of. So I rewrote the script to suit what I do best. And by the time I was done, it looked like the opening scene from Saving Private Ryan on the beaches of Normandy." And believe it or not, he actually said that the finale in the first script that he wrote was him in a stolen Lamborghini playing chicken with an oncoming freight train being driven by the ultra slimy bad guy. And so, of course, Paramount says no to that. They move on. They get Daniel Petrie to rewrite it for Eddie Murphy. That becomes Beverly Hills Cop. The script that Stallone kind of like did himself, that becomes Cobra. Very interesting stuff, isn't it? Because you have these
Yeah.
long-lasting scripts been around since '77. They bring it to the biggest guy in the world, and he says, "I won't do that, but I will do it if it's this." And they said, "Not interested." And then you got two films made out of the one material. Pretty interesting, I think.
I mean, the whole production, the aspect of producing movies is fascinating because I think to the layman, or just your average audience goer, for them, they think, oh, well, hey, DiCaprio was offered X amount of dollars and he just said yes. And then the movie was made a year later. And it's
Hmm.
the development process that movies go through is one of the most fascinating aspects altogether of the movie making process because it's just not an overnight thing. It takes time to make these movies. Sure, so every now and again you'll get something like, "Hey, the script is ready." It's like, "We got to go now. This is the time that we have everybody." And a lot of times you find with those movies, they go because of that, because they have like the principles that they need that are available at a specific time. And a lot of times that's why a movie goes forward into production without a script being fully finished or sometimes even like done at all. Because they're like, well, we have everybody, we have the concept, let's just start shooting because this is the time that we have. But some movies just languish and it takes a long time to get there. But I don't know. I would love to see the interdimensional version of Sylvester Stallone's Beverly Hills Cop. That would be awesome just to see what that would have been. I mean, a Lamborghini, chasing down playing chicken with a freight train. Like, come on, with Stallone in there yelling really loud, doing the Stallone yell in a Lamborghini while he's chasing down a freight train. That would be amazing. I want to see it.
So supposedly this film, the Cobra script, the Stallone version of it, um, was some bit parts of it was based on this novel called Fair Game by Paula Gosling. I
Hmm.
mean, there was enough in the source material that there was a credit for it. And later on, Fair Game will be adapted into a movie that starred William Baldwin and Cindy
And Cindy
Crawford.
Crawford.
It was like
Yep.
1995 that came out. Um, so the initial script that Stallone wrote is on the web, and for people to read. It's really interesting. A lot of the things that were in this initial script that's different to what will become. So the earlier draft, so where in the movie the big shootout happens in a shopping center, in the initial script it happens in a movie theater, which will be I like things like that have happened in real life since then, so it's kind of eerie
Yeah.
to think
Sure.
about it
Sure.
that way.
Yeah.
Cobra mentions how he had a girlfriend who was killed by a psychopath he was trying to catch, and that's what made him the kind of the guy he was. There was
Mm.
an additional nighttime action sequence on a boat where Cobra and Ingrid, the girl he's protecting, is hiding and attacked by the Night Slasher cultists, and him and his partner Tony managed to kill them all. And there was a different ending, which I thought this would have been a great ending in the initial one. So the character of Detective Monty, he's the cop that's always on Cobra's ass throughout the whole movie, always
Right.
undercutting him and questioning him. In the initial script, he turns out that he was actually the leader of the New World, and he attempts to kill
Ah.
Ingrid at the last second before being killed by Cobretti. Supposedly, there's a scene where they're fighting or something, and Cobra rips his shirt, and on his chest on his Monty's chest is a big like pentagram satanic kind of symbol, which kind of like
Oh,
says
wow.
it's like he's like the bad guy, which would have been cool because I don't know if you notice the Dirty Harry connections through Cobra to Dirty Harry. The guy who plays that character of Monty, Andrew Robertson, played the Scorpio killer in Dirty Harry. It's the
Oh,
same
yeah.
actor.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And the guy who plays Sergeant Tony Gonzalez, the character Rennie Santoni, also played Harry Callahan's partner in
That's right.
multiple Dirty Harry movies as well. So it's kind of
Yep.
like a mix of all these different things where you got this Fair Game book, you got Dirty Harry, you got the Beverly Hills stuff. It's thrown into with some Sylvester Stallone protein powder, shake it up, and there you go. You got Cobra, you know?
And then you have a scene where he cuts pizza with scissors, and
Yes.
we've all been brain boggled with that one for the longest time. And I don't know. I'm sure he's addressed it at some point. I can't imagine he hasn't. But I mean, I just remember watching that as a kid, being like, "What is he doing?" And like, even though I was perplexed by it, at the same time, I was fascinated by it because I was like, man, maybe that's the cool thing to do. Like as a kid, you're like, maybe we should cut our pizza with scissors. It doesn't make any sense. It's total
My
nonsense. But
Having watched it again only a couple of days ago, references to food throughout the movie are very high. There's a lot of stuff where he's like always questioning people's food choices. His partner's a bit of a sugar junkie. He's like, "You're gonna try, like avocado or spinach or something." And the girl is protecting, is chomping down on fries and stuff. And then
yeah,
go
yeah,
back to, I think that he's got a bit of a thing about food to the point where he's calorie counting to such an extent. He knows that like a quarter tip of a pizza is like, 125 grams, a little bit of sodium. Okay,
yeah,
that's enough for
right.
today, kind of thing, you know? That's what I think he's doing there. I really
I
do
think
think
you're
it's a bit of
right.
a thing. Yeah.
I think it probably overlaps with his actual like eating, his actual real life Sylvester Stallone training. And he's like, I gotta I'm gonna work this into the movie somehow. Like that feels very Stallone to want to do that. Like
I
almost
mean,
like a lecture people on how to eat properly in his serial killer action movie.
The Matt's Movie Reviews YouTube channel is brought to you by TeePublic. TeePublic is the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work on the highest quality merchandise. With over 1.2 million designs, TeePublic is sure to have something you love. I mean, he just came off Rocky and Rambo 2. He's shredded as hell in both of those movies.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
imagine
yeah.
limited nutrition, calorie counting, macros, and all that kind of stuff is big on his wine. So he probably didn't even realize he was putting in the script. It was just like he's like he had like a quart pizza, and he has like a little bracket at the bottom, 125 grams, carbs, whatever. He's probably got it in there.
I would
Um,
not be surprised.
no, me either. So the director, George P. Cosmatos, um, he's a really interesting dude in that he's done quite a bit of films that we've all seen. He did do Rambo 2, he did Cobra, he
Yep.
did Tombstone as well, starring like Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer and such.
Well,
I
he
couldn't
he
find
saved Tombstone, or he was not necessarily saved it, but he was brought in to replace
because
Kevin Jar.
that's right, Kevin Jar, yeah, he
Yeah.
was brought into there, and
But
that's why he
if you
was.
listen to
Mhm.
Kurt Russell talk about it, and a lot of people that worked on it, they'll actually say that Kurt Russell directed Tombstone because the it's not exactly a favorable thing for Cosmatos on Tombstone. Like he kind of came in to like basically stand behind the camera, but
Mm.
from what I've heard from a lot of the people that worked on the film was that it really was Kurt Russell calling the shots, and Cosmatos was there like almost on a technical level. So it's pretty interesting how that one worked out. But you're right, like Cosmatos has like there's like that trifecta right there, the of Tombstone, Rambo First Blood Part 2, and Cobra. It's like, oh, these are actually some pretty good movies. And now his son is a filmmaker too. He's a very different
That's
kind
right.
of filmmaker, but
Yeah.
yeah, really a really wild thing. But I feel like, Stallone just came off Rocky 4, came off Rambo First Blood Part 2. Why mess with a good thing, get somebody that could come in and get the job done. So it makes sense that he would bring in Cosmatos.
But again, going back to the Tombstone thing, there's reports I'm reading about how people kind of felt like maybe that was more of a Stallone directorial production too. So Brian Thompson, who plays the Night Slasher in the movie, he was talking about how when he is doing that scene, that little monologue thing where he's like calling like Cobra a pig and all that, and you see like the spit kind of coming out and all that. Um,
Ugh.
he talked about how that was Stallone that kind of set up that shop. He was the one that came in and says, "I want a camera here, I want Brian standing
Yep,
there, I
yep.
want this or that kind of stuff as well." Um, and I can't find any interviews with George Cosmatos because he I just can't find anything at all. I found some people. I found like a eulogy, a kind of like a obituary kind of thing about him on Hollywood Reporter or Variety or something, where they talked about he had a reputation of handle complex action shoots, area photography, turning around trouble projects, and stuff. But I couldn't find anything about him talking about the projects that he actually worked on. And so you get all these kind of rumors and such, and you're saying before about Kurt Russell with Tombstone. People talk about Stallone on Cobra. I think he was the kind of director, maybe especially when he worked maybe with Stallone and Kurt Russell, where he was smart enough to give bits of control over to the lead of the film to make it a smoother set. Because if it's the trouble to production, and he has to be there to kind of like make sure everything kind of goes smooth and such like that. But I can't find anything about him talking about his techniques, talking about his films. Like he's done films.
Yeah.
It's a short list of credits, but I just find it really interesting that he's always attached to these kind of movies. And the rumors from the movies is like he was just there, like you said, to stand behind a camera, and other people will call the
Yeah.
shots.
I feel like that's very well maybe his legacy in that sense. But the thing about Stallone too, and you already touched on this, which is that when he signs on to a project, he's fully invested. And Stallone
Yeah,
has directed a ton of his own films. And I think that most of the time, if Stallone is not directing, he's still kind of directing. Stallone he's kind of the George Lucas of action movies when it comes to
mm,
that. Like he's like standing over their shoulders the whole time. And you'll notice that, Stallone wasn't working with like big action movie directors throughout his career. there was a few, but he didn't work with John McTiernan. He didn't work with Tony Scott. He didn't work
Mm.
with any of those guys he didn't work with Michael Bay. He didn't work with any of like the big names. And he has said it before. And I remember when I was at Joe Blow, we had interviewed him for Rambo 5. And he was talking about how they had hired the director for that, who had done
Uh,
the Mel Gibson movie,
yeah, Get the Gringo.
Get the Gringo.
Yeah.
And I remember Stallone saying during that interview, he was like, "Yeah, well, he's malleable. He's malleable." And he said it multiple, and I was like, "That is exactly what Stallone does. He hires directors. You look at the director of The Specialist, who was like, he started as a janitor, and it was the first time they like gave him a movie to direct.
Mm.
And I would bet every dime I have that Stallone was like on this guy's ass the whole time through that production, because why not hire you? He's not going to hire a brand new guy and just be like, yeah, just do what you want, man. He's not Clint Eastwood. Stallone
Mm.
is very hands on. He's very controlling in that way, and I think that that's probably the case with Cobra as well. It's probably he should probably have a co-director credit, for a lot of the projects that he does, because I think that he wants filmmakers that can handle the technical stuff but that he can basically tell what to do. And I feel like that is very, very much Stallone's MO, for better or for worse. We could argue the merits of it all day long. Ultimately, we've gotten a lot of really great films out of him, and then we've gotten some that aren't so great. I mean, I don't think that The Specialist is particularly great. It's not a movie I ever can like. I'm like, oh, yes, I want to watch The Specialist. There's quite a few Stallone movies like that, and then there's plenty where like, oh man, let's watch that again. Let's watch Cobra. Let's watch Rambo. Sure, but I think that is very much Stallone's MO is he likes to be in control. And I think that he probably oversteps it as much as possible.
And I think there's a big difference between him and Schwarzenegger as well. I mean, Schwarzenegger always worked with great directors, like a lot of guys
Always.
did. Of course, you got James Cameron, you mentioned before, John McTiernan, Ivan Reitman
Paul
as well
Verhoeven.
in comedies, Paul Verhoeven. I mean, a who's who of all these things. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, when it came to the rivalry between the two, like to me, I'm always a Stallone guy. But what happened with the whole Schwarzenegger thing is that he chose the better projects because of the directors attached to them. Whereas
Yeah.
Stallone always chose, it seemed to me, chose the projects where he could kind of Stallonify them. Like again, like I said
Yep.
again, throwing that Stallone protein powder, shake it up, and you got like a nice tasty Stallone sly shake. And that's what you kind of get with him from this movie. Um, Again, going back to the control of Stallone, so his wife at the time, Brigitte Nielsen, is cast in the movie as the Ingrid, the girl who's under protective custody throughout the movie. Um, I found a really funny anecdote about their time on set. So the cinematographer, Rick Waite, on the movie. Had a interview. I think it was a Screen Nerd. I think it was him and Brian Thompson talking about this. I'll have if everyone listening, I'll have all the sources for links so you can check it out yourself. He was talking about how Stallone comes up to him and he says, "Hey, we're falling behind. Your crew need to work harder." And Rick Waite, who said that he already had a few projects in his back pocket, so he didn't care if he was going to get fired, he can move on to another thing. Actually said to him, goes, if you stop, getting your hands off Bridget Nielsen's ass and showing off with your bodyguards, then we wouldn't have any problems and we'll be on schedule. And Stallone was kind of shocked that anyone would talk to him that way. But after that, he toned it down. He toned down the ego. Ego was very big for Stallone on
Mm.
this movie,
Yeah, yeah.
supposedly, and that he toned down the ego. Things started going more right under as well. And he also said in the interview, going back to we'll talk about George B. Cosmatos, he also confirmed the rumor that Stallone was a true director of the film, calling credited director George B. Cosmatos a good producer but a bad director. So I think we're seeing now what's kind of going on here, especially with
Yeah.
this movie. Stallone's high on his own supply. He's got this beautiful bride who's like this like Danish model, is like 6 foot whatever. He's just ripped as hell. Probably got like going crazy, eating like small amounts of food and cutting pizza in quarters, and everything else. And that's where we go with Cobra here. It's very kind of interesting stuff here.
Yeah, yeah, very true. I think it seems like again, like I think that is Cosmatos's legacy is that he just kind of he was a guy that you call. They're like, hey man, he'll get the film over the finish line, and he's not going to fight with you. He'll do whatever you say. And I feel like that is probably, what happened with probably with Rambo First Blood Part 2 and with Cobra. And, again, from the Tombstone rumors, it looks like, Kurt Russell was the Stallone of that production. But at the end of the day, like, we got some good films out of it, so I can't complain, like maybe Cosmatos showing up was the rabbit's foot that each one of those productions needed to get to become what they became.
Next person I want to talk about is Brian Thompson as the Night Slasher. Out of everyone from this movie, he's the one that talks about Cobra the most. He always goes to conventions, always on podcasts. He talks
Mm.
quite a bit about it. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about with him. Originally, he said when he read the script, the character's name was Abaddon, Abaddon. That was the initial working name for the Night Slasher. I think it was named after some type of demon in
Hmm.
mythology or something. He said that when he auditioned for the role, he did well, but both Cosmatos and the casting director thought that he was too nice to play the role. He was actually quite too nice. And people say it all the time, for someone who plays heavies quite a bit for his time, like he's actually a very nice guy to talk to and very educated and stuff as well. So you had to
Yeah,
really
he
kind of
he
fit.
doesn't seem like that at all. Like if you
Yeah.
ever see him in interviews, he's very smiley, very friendly, very relaxed, and you're just like, wait, aren't you the Night Stalker? Like he's like just the nicest guy, but he is terrifying in Cobra. And I remember as a kid watching it, I was like, man, that dude is scary because he's got that look, that face
Mm.
for it. You know what I'm saying? And if you could turn that switch on and that's what you're supposed to be able to do as an actor, you could be the nicest guy in the world and then just turn into like the most evil guy in the world very quickly. And I think Thompson does a great job of that in Cobra.
He does. He said though that he didn't get a lot of help in regards to who his character was and what his approach was and what is the kind of like this cult that they're doing. Stallone wasn't very helpful with it either. It was kind of like flippant. It's like, oh, he's just evil, you know? And so
Yeah.
Thomas actually wrote down like a two-page kind of manifesto about who this guy is and what this new world order is, why people need to die. It was like the bulk of his presentation, and he wanted to present someone who was kind of like a very hurt soul who he was recovering from an event that he knew he couldn't recover from, and he started righting the wrongs by causing the world to indiscriminately wreak havoc on other people as it had been done to him and his family. So it's kind of like this guy's just gone driven mad by some traumatic experience
Yeah.
and such, and brought it out there. He was also said that, interestingly enough, that again, going back to the whole Stallone thing, um, the ego kind of part of it was kind of like very, very much there. He couldn't get a good kind of like report going with Stallone whatsoever. That even though he was a screenwriter, he couldn't put any depth into the thing. And there was also an incident where, at the end, when he's doing the monologue that leads up to the final fight, the one where Stallone kind of set up the shots and all that, instead of Stallone staying and doing like lines back and forth with him, like actors would do that off camera,
Right.
the supervising the script supervisor was the stand-in for Stallone. And when Brian Thompson's like, well, where's Sly? He's like, oh, there's an NBA game on TV. He's watching that right now. So that's kind of like the experience that he had in regards to that. But in spite of all these things that are going on, especially with Stallone's ego and everything else, I thought that he actually, like you said, he brought a real kind of like menacing presence to this movie. Kind of reminded
Yeah.
me a bit, haven't watched it again, kind of reminded me of a slasher film at times, especially the scene in the hospital, Halloween 2
Yeah. The
vibes
hospital
there.
scene very much.
He's
Yeah.
got that knife. He's got like, he's got that demeanor. He's got that chin. It looked like he's injected steroids in his chin or something. That bulky kind of chin that
Yeah.
he has there as well. He's got a presence about him. Very much kind of like a slasher thing almost. I felt like in regards to the night slasher in this movie.
Yeah. And I just remember his face. It almost feels like his face is breathing. Like the
Mm,
way that his jaw moves underneath the skin. It's almost like his face is like there's lungs underneath his cheeks and you could just feel it like and I was like, man, to see that guy like in person would be so scary. But turns out, he's the nicest guy ever. Uh or so he seems. But yeah, what a great menacing villain role for Brian Thompson. Like, and it's one that people may have, I don't know, I've seen that guy before. I think he was just in season 2 of Fallout.
mm.
And he'll pop up, every now and again, but it's interesting. You never quite know what you're going to be known for. And for Brian Thompson, like it makes sense that he's going to conventions for Cobra because that is probably his most memorable role and probably always will be. And that's not a bad thing, you know? And while he was making it, you know, he's not getting the feedback from Stallone. He's not getting, you know, all the motivation that he needs to give like this great performance. And yet here we are. Here you're being paid to go to conventions to continue to talk about Cobra. You just never quite know what your legacy is going to be, and I think that's pretty fascinating. I had heard a story recently, ironically enough, Brian Thompson saying that he wasn't even invited to the premiere of Cobra, that he
Yeah,
had to
buy his
go
own ticket. Yeah,
buy his own ticket to go
yeah.
see the movie that he was in. Again, another part of this fascinating journey. Yet this is the movie he's most, you know, remembered for. Like that is crazy. It's just wild how that
You,
happens.
you know what's is crazy? In the same year that this came out, he's actually in Three Amigos as well. I don't know if you
Oh
realize
yeah,
he
that's right. That's
he
right.
plays one of
Yeah.
the Germans that comes in
Yep.
to the to the bar there. So yeah, he's a classically trained actor actually. He's like in like the way he talks about his acting and stuff is really interesting, and he's had memorable stints in the X-Files. He plays that kind of weird kind of like a bounty hunter type of character in
Mm.
X-Files. He was in infamously Mortal Kombat 2 in that
Oh
movie as
yeah,
well,
that's right.
playing the Emperor in that too. So yeah, interesting bloke. Um, so okay, photography or this principal photography on this film began 24th October 1985. It's a budget of $25 million actually. That's quite a surprising
That's pretty good
mid-low,
for an
yeah.
80s
Yeah.
action movie. That's a lot.
So they filmed in Los Angeles, in Long Beach, and in other parts of California as well. Um, I want to talk about something about this movie that I find really fascinating with the 1980s, in how vehicles, cars especially, are a prominent fixture in these movies. For
Yeah.
me, I think it goes back to like Mad Max, like the V8 that Mel Gibson's character has in that. But that's what my
Oh yeah,
favorite
that
movie car
Ford
of all
Falcon.
time.
Yeah.
I love that car. But then you have other stuff. The Ghostbusters. They have the Ecto One. There's a slew of movies, and then you have TV. You have like Knight Rider with Kit. You have the Dukes of Hazzard as well.
Oh
There's
yeah,
stuff.
Dukes
Cars
of
was like
Hazzard.
like
Come
a
on.
thing. It was like a thing there. You need to have the car. It's part of the identity of the character. And in the
Yeah.
case of Cobra, you got this 1950 Mercury Coupe. So you're more of a car guy than I am, so I'm going to screw up things here. So feel free to like just correct me when I bring up anything at
Sure.
all. So the description I found for it said it was a custom built 1950 Mercury Coupe with a 350 cubic inch Chevrolet engine outfitted with a blower for additional horsepower, a Hurst automatic shifter, and a 400 hydro transmission with a shift kit. So
Yep.
you actually see clearly there's a scene in the movie where the bad guys are getting away and Stallone hits that nitrous. It
Yeah.
kind of goes through. They're really awesome kind of chase scene. Supposedly the car could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4 seconds and hit speeds of 140 miles per hour. So like an awesome car here, made for Stallone for this movie. There were three cars for stunt work though. So
Yep.
like a lot, the car gets a good thrashing throughout the movie. With specific, there's like swipes and 180 turns. He jumps into a boat and all this kind of stuff in there as well. In the pantheon of 1980s action movie cars, where does this 1950 Mercury kind of coupe kind of like rank for you? Because to me, I think it's kind of like almost unheralded kind of car in the movie. And I'd like to think that if there were kind of sequels to Cobra, that car will be back maybe in a a variation of it because of all the damage it
Yeah.
sustained at the end, would return as well and be just part of the the Cobra character because that is him. You know Cobra's coming because you hear that car coming around the corner.
Yeah. You know, I think for me, it probably falls, I mean, somewhere in like the mid to higher range in terms of the 80s cars. I mean, you also have, you know, get the DeLorean from Back to the Future. You
Yes.
have, you know, Christine. You have like, there's so many different car movies of that era. And cars are just a unique fixture for humans. It's our main mode of transportation. We have so many different styles of cars. Like it's very much a part of our lives. And I miss the hero cars. Like
Mm.
we just don't really do hero cars anymore. You know, you look at like all these, you know, action movies that have come out in the last decade, And most of the time they're superhero movies and they don't really have like a specific car. You have Tony Stark driving like some, European, supercar or something, but it's not part of the film. It's not part of the identity. And a lot of times that's what was cool about these is that it was like a character. And I
Mhm.
think that the Monterey in Cobra very much fits Cobra's personality, and I think that's very obviously done on purpose. It's a very it's a masculine, muscular car. It's a hot rod. It's not sleek per se. It's not really particularly sexy in that way, but it's got this other kind of personality. This is very strong, tough, roadworthy kind of hot rod type vehicle, and that's Cobra. Like that fits his personality. It fits him. It's got the tinted windows, which is very much like like him wearing his mirrored sunglasses all the time. It's like it's very much fits his personality, and I think that it's one of the few of the 80s like for an action movie where the car gets to be a star for a little bit. And it was,
Yeah.
the car, I still remember the car chase. The car chase was a lot of fun. It's not like going to go down as a bullet level classic car chase, but it was still fun. It was still cool. And they did make use of the car. And I think that that is something that's missing. I hope that man, I would love to see more of that in the future, but I won't hold my breath, but we'll see. We'll see.
Another 80s car I just thought of was the Wraith, the Charlie Sheen movie
Oh
from
yeah, the Wraith. Yeah, yeah,
79. Yeah.
yeah.
That was
I
a
love the yeah, that's a Chrysler, I believe. Yeah, that thing was I love the Wraith. I mean, it's basically like sci-fi The Crow.
Mhm.
I did enjoy that. I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, me too.
More so than probably I should. But yeah, like those were just like so cool, man. Like we need more cool hero cars. Um, so I hope it happens.
Me
I'll write it
too.
into my next script. I actually have a comic story that's very similar to that, where the car is part and parcel with the main character, and I just missed that. I think that we need to have more of that. But hey, we had it then, so that's cool. We can still revisit it and enjoy it now, and still talk about it. But I agree with you too. I think it would be cool if Cobra would have become a franchise. It would have been cool to see how that car took shape in future films because you can't
Mm.
not have it. The car's
Yeah.
got to come back, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, it would be cool to see if they would use the same car, if they would soup it up, what they would do. A lot of things you could do with that.
I agree. The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon Prime Video. One of the best on demand streaming services available, Amazon Prime Video features exclusive Amazon originals as well as popular movies and TV shows. Watch Amazon Prime Video anytime, anywhere. So the car itself was actually stolen back in 1994. So there was a report that came out in 2009. I think it was like 2009. So Stallone discovered in 2009 that the car was about to be auctioned off by a company that provides on-camera vehicles. And when Stallone asked the owner for his car back, the owner refused. So the Stallone took him to court. He says he's like, I want it back. I'm going to file a lawsuit to regain possession. And they reached a settlement. He got the car back. So after 15 years, he got the car back, which is crazy to think
Wow.
that when something's stolen and someone is selling it, and you're like, no, yo, someone stole that. That's my car. And the guy says, no, not gonna give it up. It's like that's nuts. I think.
It's crazy.
Details of the deal were not disclosed. I think the car is at one of his places actually. I think he's got it somewhere, nice and tucked away somewhere so it doesn't get stolen again. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so
Until he dies, and then it's auctioned off again.
yeah, exactly right. A couple of interesting tidbits here, post-production. So the song "You Got the Touch" that was for the Transformers movies was
Oh yeah.
originally written for Cobra, which is
No
really
way. That's
interesting.
hilarious.
So the reason why is because the I forgot the bloke's name who wrote the song, but he was given the prompt, oh, it's for the
Was it
next
not
Stallone.
Mark Wahlberg?
No, no, not Mark Wahlberg and John C. Reilly. No, put up the put up the vocal. Can't
I
hear my
love
vocals. John C. Reilly dancing.
God, I love that so much. It's so funny. You got the touch.
I really think we need to put up the vocal. I love it. Um,
I love when they're arguing with the exec to like or the guy that's managing the studio where they recorded. He's like, "You don't know about the magic that's on that tape, man. Just give us the tapes. We'll go get your money right now. We got a contract guaranteed. It's that good."
it's like you don't get it. If we sell the tape, we get the money to pay for the studio time. Love it. So the
Oh
reason
man,
why they wrote that song for the movie because they just told, oh, it's a Stallone movie. And so what was the last Stallone movie that came out? Rocky Four. So I was like,
Rocky,
oh,
yeah, yeah,
kind of like, kind of thing. It turned out, didn't work. So I went to Transformers. Suits Transformers just fine. To the day,
perfect, perfect for Transformers.
perfect. My son, I showed my older son Michael the movie a couple of years ago, the Transformers cartoon, which he says is still the best Transformers movie he's seen them all. And not, now and again, he'll just be going around the house going, "You got the touch, you got the power." So yeah, that's cool. Um, Another interesting thing as well is that have you noticed how when I watch it again how fast the movie is, how short it is? It's like
Yeah,
under 90 minutes. It's a very interesting runtime, 89 minutes. It was actually much longer, the film. And Stallone actually insisted that they cut the film because Top Gun was about to come out. And Top Gun goes for 103 minutes. So Stallone's like, we need to get the edge. And so I want this film played more times in more theaters. So if we cut the time down to 90 minutes, we could get more showings going and we could get more people watching it and more money at the box office. So that's why it was like cut down to such a like very kind of slim time so they can get the box office hit. And it was a huge hit. Like I said, budget of $25 million actually made $160 million. That's a crazy
dang.
amount of money for Cobra right there.
How did we not
Again,
get a sequel to Cobra, man? That's crazy.
I think it had to do kind of like a lot of their. I mean, it was Warner Brothers who kind of like distributed it, but it was like it was a Canon kind of thing. I think it was in '85, Canon signed a deal with Warner, where they were going to do distribution of some of their movies, like the more kind of higher end kind of stuff. And I think when Canon kind of fell, that kind of brought Cobra down with
Man,
it and other kind of properties as well. But
what a
interestingly
shame.
enough, since then. Um, there has been talks of sequels, uh, TV adaptations, prequels. So Stallone said that he would like to return to the character. And that was back in 2008. He actually said this kind of funny quote. He always saw Cobra as Bruce Springsteen with a badge, which I really don't get. Bruce Springsteen isn't shooting people. Bruce Springsteen sings about songs about cops shooting people. He isn't shooting people. I don't know what he's going on
Yeah,
about there.
right.
But then Stallone said that he and Robert Rodriguez were actually working on a TV adaptation. But this was back in
Mm.
2019. And there was no details as to what was going to happen, where it was going to be showed, who was going to star it whatsoever. That was back in 2019. Nothing has happened since then. But I dare to say that we kind of got a little bit of a Cobra remake anyway. A huge fan of the movie is Nicholas Refn, the Nicholas
Mm.
Wilding Refn, the director.
Yeah.
Um, Drive is a tribute to Cobra, he says, in a lot of ways,
Mm.
to the point where, and I don't know if you noticed, Ryan Gosling is a huge Stallone fan as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. I've heard that.
the reason why Ryan Gosling's character of the driver has a toothpick in his mouth is in tribute to Stallone because he has the matchstick in his
That's
mouth at the
cool.
start of the
I didn't
movie.
know that. That's
So
awesome.
we kind of got like a bit of a Cobra thing happening already with Drive. I think Drive was probably the last movie that I can think of that actually had like a thing about the car being part of the character.
Yeah,
But people
yeah.
know that the character more for the jacket though than for the car, I find.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The scorpion
Was
jacket. Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's a really great kind of tribute there. But what about you? Would you like to see a remake, a show or anything like this, like as a Cobra kind of thing? Is it too far past its use by date as a property, you think, to pull off a Cobra these days?
I actually do. Like most of the time, I'm usually game for continuing something, but I feel like the ship sailed on that. I feel like we got this one thing and we should just enjoy what we had. The reality is Stallone is just too old to kind of return to the character. Like what is it going to be? Cobra comes out of retirement to like
Mm,
fight something in his
yeah,
70s. Like
yeah,
it's just like it's okay to move on sometimes. And the reality is, I mean, look, we got the drive thing with Gosling. That's pretty cool, but I don't know who would embody Marion Cobretti in the way that Stallone did at this point. So
yeah.
I don't really see the need for it. We could just enjoy what we have.
I think the closest thing you're probably going to get is maybe like what John Bernthal's doing with Punisher. I think Cobra kind of set the
Yeah.
tone for that kind of grisly kind of
Yeah,
vengeance,
Bernthal
driven.
could do it. I don't know, man. You just said Bernthal. Now I'm thinking like maybe Bernthal would be he would be an interesting Cobra. He
And the
would be
only
somebody that
way
could do something similar to that.
And the only way you could do it, you have to set it in the 80s. It has to be during Reagan era 80s. You have to be a throwback kind of thing. It has to
Yeah.
be, and then you could do the same story, but do a whole 12 episodes about the Night Stalker, flesh out the cult, make it more kind of like an investigative kind of thing as well, but also have the action scenes as well. I think it can have, I just don't know whether, Rodriguez was going to do it 2019. It's been what, 7 years from now. There hasn't been a peep about it since then. Since then,
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
had, there's going to be a Rambo series coming out. We know that. Since then,
Well,
there's
now we
going
got
to
the
be,
Rambo prequel coming, which
yeah, we've
I
got
don't
that
know. I'm
stuff
not
coming
sure
out.
about
And,
that.
and what's the other thing that's coming out as well? Stallone wise. Oh, I forgot what it was. And something else coming out, but it's like he's like kind of attached to it as well. Anyway, but like there's things that come. Oh, that's right. The biopic about
Oh,
Stallone
right.
called
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Play
Yeah.
Rocky. You got that coming out.
Yeah.
You've had the Creed legacy stuff. I just don't know. Like if something was going to happen, I in Rodriguez has hashtag 2019, and he's a very efficient kind of guy. Like he's got his own
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
got the El Rey kind of thing. All that. He could have like I like to think he would have done it by now. If it hasn't been done by now, I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be done. And the very fact as well that Stallone, even though like this week is like the anniversary of Cobra, so
Mm.
released in May 23, 1986 is when it came out. So we're looking like
Wow.
the anniversary right now for it. I don't think he's talked about it. There hasn't been any type of he hasn't mentioned anything about director's cut or anything like that. There was additional scenes. He cut some scenes out to get under 90 minutes. Nothing at all. So I think it's something that's kind of gone now, right now.
It's
So
gone.
what?
I
So
think
what
if
we've got
anything,
is
what
is a
would
movie
be
now.
it would be cool to see the full cut before they
Yeah,
cut it down. Like that would be an option, like if they could dig up the footage and maybe put out a director's cut, and it could be Stallone's director's cut, since, he basically kind of sort of directed it. I think that would be interesting. Although I will say, like I like the Rocky Four director's cut, I don't like
mm,
compared to the theatrical. Like
yeah,
it's fine. It does not have the same impact of the original, and sometimes director's cuts just aren't.
yeah,
They just aren't great. They aren't
no,
better. But I think it would be cool to see that, just to see it. I'd still like to see it. I think I talk about that in my book. Even I was like, the director's cuts are not always great, but it's like I always want to see what the director's vision was. I
yeah,
always want to see like, what was their original intent. May not like it, but I still want to see it. If they had put that effort out there, I just think that's fun. It's kind of like it's like revisiting a movie and seeing it in a different light. I think sometimes that could be really cool. And sometimes there's stuff you're like, even if the full cut isn't great, there's still scenes you're like, man, that's a cool scene. Like I wish if they could like make another cut and put that back in there, that would be cool. But yeah, I think that would be the best we could hope for in terms of a Stallone centered Cobra. But if they were to reboot it with John Bernthal with like a really good director. Like
mm,
get Refn to do it. Like that would
yeah,
be interesting too. But get a good director, somebody that's like not afraid to kind of go balls out and lean into that 80s aesthetic
yeah.
and really just have fun with it and make it cool. That would be fun, I think. But yeah, you said Bernthal, man. Now I can't get out of my head. I think Bernthal could work as a rebooted Cobra. So
If anything, just give me a 4K restoration, do a 1 week theatrical throwback screenings, have Ryan Gosling come to a premiere kind of thing with Stallone and Ryan Gosling both on the carpet, announce the 4K physical release for like the week after, including the original and director's cut, put it all together, ship it out there, and you got something, give us
yeah.
something, Sly. Give us something. Get off the
Come
Tulsa
on,
King for one
Sly.
moment. Come on, give us something.
I like Tulsa King. I didn't watch season 3 yet. It's like one of those ones just sitting on the back burner. Still pretty wild.
Sorry, got frozen here. Just give me one second.
Oh yeah.
Can you? All right, cool. All right. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Great, great. All right. We'll just take it from me talking about the 4K restoration. All right.
sure.
5, 4, 3. Okay. All right. So Tulsa King, you like big fan of Tulsa King, are you?
I like it. I like the first two seasons. I did not finish season three yet. I didn't even start it, but I do like it. Like it's just an interesting place for Stallone to end up in the twilight of his career, and I don't view that as a bad thing. I view that as a very good thing, because he's not. I mean, he still stretches his action muscles in Tulsa King, but you get to a certain point where it's like, okay, well, let's do something different. And I think him playing
Mm.
like a gangster in that kind of setting is really cool. I think it's a good use of his talent and his age. So I think it's a fitting place. I don't think Tulsa King is like that refined of a show. It's not quite Breaking Bad, but it's good. It's good for him.
I like it too. I especially like the first season. There were some really good scenes that he had there, especially that first episode where he comes out of jail and they're telling him he's going to Tulsa and he's just pissed and he knocks out that one
Yeah.
guy and he's just like, you know, I just loved it. That to me was like some of the best Stallone I had seen in a while. Really was. Frank Grillo's in Tulsa King as well. He could play like a
Yeah.
Cobra type character as well.
Yeah. Grillo could do it. Grillo could do it. Yeah.
There's
Those,
options. There's options. There is. But right now we have to just be thankful that we have this 86 experience to look back on. For everyone
yeah,
out there who hasn't seen Cobra, I'm sure that Paul and I are giving it our double thumbs up. Again, wearing the shirt.
absolutely.
That's my tribute to it. I need to get some Cobra. I need to get some Cobra sunglasses, I think. My
I have a Cobra commentary on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
It is actually my
I'll check into it.
highest performing video on that channel.
Okay.
It's got like 1.3 million views. It's crazy how that went how that took off. But I actually shot an opening, like I made an opening of me dressed up as Cobretti, and I had pizza. I even ordered a pizza to do this, and I came in and I do recreate the whole scene, and I start cutting the pizza where you can't really see what I'm doing, and I lift it up, and I had cut a heart out of the pizza, and I was just kind of like, like just kind of make it, because that's how I used to like to start my commentaries, is to like do a little
Yeah.
skit
Yeah.
beforehand. But yeah, it's crazy how that one took off. I had no idea that was going to blow up the way it did, but hey, and it's still there, still exists. So you can always watch my Cobra commentary. And it was a fun one to revisit. So I still love it. I'll always love Cobra.
Well, that will be in the show notes as well, the link for that as well. And for everyone else, please do check out Paul Shirey's Substack, The Way of the Shirey. Please do sign up and also check out the Confessions of a Movie Blogger autobiography. Comes in chapters. We're up to chapter 16, 17 now, are we, Paul?
Yeah, 17, yeah, and 18 will be up this Friday.
And also check out the Midmen podcast as well. I'm going to have links for everything there. Going to have a link for everyone to be able to check out Cobra over at Prime as well. We highly recommend you guys check out this film, if anything, just to see Stallone at the peak of his movie star powers in a, you know, at times corny, at times thrilling, at times kind of like, just a oblivious kind of like action movie, but one that I absolutely love. And Paul, clearly you love it as well. Thank you so much for your time
Oh
today, and
yes.
hopefully we get to talk again in the future. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, Matt. Always a pleasure. Appreciate what you do, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content.